Welcome. Paola Bandera and I, associate professors in Pontificia Universidad Católica Ecuador and Pontificia Universidad Católica Peru, are excited to share with you our experience in intercultural methodology in virtual space. This presentation is divided in 6 parts: introductions, planning, implementations, application, assessment, and conclusions. My partner Paola will begin with an introduction.
Greetings. Our goal is to present to you our research on neuroscience studies applied to education. Over the years, researchers have studied how motor and sensory stimulus affect brain function, how these stimuli led to cognitive processes like memory, in which taste, smell, vision, etc. can elicit specific memories. These findings can be applied to the teaching learning scenario, in which enriched environments improve the learning experience. COIL is a methodology that integrates academic knowledge with intercultural experience based on project-based learning, through which teachers and students develop a virtual experience between topics of a curriculum that share common themes or generate mutual contribution. This methodology does not affect the natural flow of the course. In addition, this approach to diverse learning spaces where teachers and students generate new ways of learning around collaborative and intercultural learning experiences by approaching other realities with different perspective promotes identity, empathy, and recognition of diversity.
Experiential learning theory is a methodology in which experience is at the forefront of learning and has been widely used in education practice. It is a cyclical learning process. Feedback, conflict resolution, adaptation, and knowledge creation are essential for effective learning. A cycle of 4 stages is proposed by COIL: concrete experience, abstract conceptualizations, reflecting observations, and active experimentation. In addition, the present case study is based on Howard concepts. He defines concrete experience as a stage where context and time are essential to emphasize experiential learning. In this sense, it is necessary for the students to be involved in a real practice experience.
Language is one of the most complex mental tasks that human beings perform, initiating from birth in order to develop physically and intellectually, and through which people can integrate socially. Through language, the person receives most of his learning and transmits knowledge. This communication ability is developed by the interconnection of various areas of the brain and is of great importance as it is considered a mediator of learning and relationships. Several authors have defined typologies of languages such as artificial, verbal, and non-verbal, within which we find the best known for their frequent use, such as oral language, visual language, and written languages. COIL experimental learning theory and these 3 types of languages are the cornerstones of our planning.
This article presents the experience of 33 students and 2 teachers from Peru and Ecuador belonging to the graphic design careers of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú and product design of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Ecuador in designing web pages for small Latin American companies using methodologies that promote neural connections. The exercise involved unrelated sensory stimuli from different languages, seeking a positive experience that leads to significant learning.
Project planning then starts by creating exercises that promote neural exchange from the senses. It seeks to unite the concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation from the experimental learning theory, with the intercultural interaction using information and communications technology from COIL to relate the students from different environments. In the project, the COIL and ELT methodologies are intertwined to promote consistent and experimental learning by linking academic knowledge from an intercultural exchange approach. The practice is created in a realistic context by approaching small company, generating the students' commitment to their learning since the research allows them to be linked to the social, economic, and cultural reality of various environments, perceiving that their contribution is relevant and assuming the learning as convenient for their professional life. Next, we continued with the implementation.
These tables show the relationship between experiential learning theory, the problem management model, and our project's proposal process. The framework for the students' work, the skills and knowledge to be applied is provided by the first phase, concrete experience. What is more, by applying the COIL methodology, the academic and intercultural spheres were merged. Academically, it shares tools from each disciplines and linked small business from both Peru and Ecuador, while interculturally, it allows linking participants to local and international realities. At this point, the group of students needs to collaborate on selecting a small business. Project development begins in the reflecting observation stage, whereas the company target and the consumer's essential characteristics must be reflected together using the mood, an image board with keywords that convey the company's feelings. This is where we start to guide the project and transform the learning experience. Then, the analysis of the competition of the company takes place. This allows to know the context in which the product operates and the possible functionalities to offer. The information is presented in comparative tables and a list of content. With these activities, the projects will be oriented through the verbal, written, and visual language, making patterns and connections between the visions, the values, and the competence of the company with the message that is to be transmitted to the public. Defining the goals and the requirements of the website is applied in the abstract conceptualization phase to find relevant information for building your digital business. Based on the inputs from the previous stage, the objectives and scope of the project are defined. These include visual, functional, and communication aspects. A list of content and graphics elements board is used to present the information. It will help us understand the project in a new way, and it will help us determine how we can solve the visual problems. Finally, in the stage of active experimentations, the creation of the web page design is applied in order to create a visual proposal. The information from the previous stage, especially the requirements, is used to close the functionalities. The ways of presentation of the textual content, the colors, textures, and typographies. In these ways, the sensations and values information are communicated to the consumer, and the ideas and concepts are materialized in a visual way. Next, the project exercise.
As a strategy, the students' previous experience are linked to create new learning related to their professional work through academic tools and exercises. In this way, the senses are used to link the new and prior knowledge, discovering relationships and patterns that supports the new learning on past associations. The academic planning of exercise related to oral, verbal, and visual languages broadens the student's experience and learning by including a large number of sensory sensitive resources. Each exercise is in the table is carried out in a weekly synchronous session. It starts with an icebreaker activity where flavors and experience linked to local culture are discussed. Information is exchanged on representative customs for each country, special places in each region, and the participants' flavors traditional dishes. Topics that involve memories of the senses capture attention and connect different areas of the brain. Once the company for which the website design is to be developed has been selected, the first exercise is to define the target on the basis of its taste and consumers' preferences, using a perception study linked to brands, shapes, colors, typographies, and other resources. On the other hand, in the second exercise, the company's competition is analyzed using evaluation criteria based on the UX honeycomb. In addition, the values that differentiate the company for which the website is being created are identified to highlight them on the site. In the third session, the objectives of the website are discussed verbally and defined in writing and visually, and the functional requirements of the site are determined. In addition, design resources are selected for the design of the website. In the fourth and final session, the functional and formal elements are incorporated to guide the user's navigation through visual and sound elements. Next stage is the application.
One of the companies the students used was Panca. These diagrams show the relation between the elements in each stage of the project. In the Panca project, the students would synthesize the target with the following keywords: responsible, responsive, and reliable. Based on this and the UX honeycomb factors, the competitive analysis criteria are defined: visual consistency, accessibility, information, and usability. Two or more evaluation criteria can be derived from one keyword, and the relation between them is wide and varied. A scoring table is created for visual interpretation of the analysis. The objective is writing in a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound manner. However, these diagrams emphasize the actions to be taken and the relationships to the previous stage. In this stage, the student defined two aspects of improvements: visual consistency and pleasant navigations. A convergence of contents can be observed, where the specificity of the same objectives can be appraised and then diversified into different requirements. The requirements cover the functional, visual, and textual content and the aesthetics of the product. At this point, the textual content is transformed into visual content, and the mood board of the first stage is used to extract the elements with denotative or connotative meanings that best contribute to the final message. Finally, the visual proposal organizes and selects the construction elements of the digital product. The final proposal shows the interconnections between the stage and how interculturality and visual, textual, and verbal language contribute to the final creation visual product. It should be noted that throughout the process, oral language is essential in the development of the shell. The result was 6 websites for small companies in Peru and Ecuador, designed from intercultural work, applying a learning process by stage and visual writing and verbal language. The integration of these elements gives the students a better understanding of the problem to be solved and allows them to develop a coherent process between each stage. The participatory development activities are interviewed with the intention of building an optimal an adequate product for the client's consumers. Next, we have the assessment.
A questionnaire was used at the end of the experience to evaluate the relevant aspects of the project related to the methodologies used. The questionnaire consists of 5 questions, 3 open questions, and 2 Likert questions with a scale of 1 to 5. In the analysis responses, 2 codes were evaluated: academic knowledge and intercultural skills. The academic knowledge code is related to questions 2 and 3. The intercultural skills code is related to questions 1, 4, and 5. The units of analysis are free-flowing and were compared by constant comparison.
In the present research, academic knowledge includes the learning outcome, the teaching methods, the activities and tools used, the expansion of professional knowledge, and the development of digital skills. In the Likert type question related to the self-evaluation of learning, 90% of the students accepted the teaching methods as valid. In addition, in the open-end questions, they highlight in their comments the concise and relevant feedback, the simple exercise with clear explanations, an orderly and concise process, and useful and sufficient tools such as Smart Objective and Fijo. In addition, the broadening of knowledge was evident in several of their comments. As a student A from Ecuador comments, I learned about a different discipline from my own and how knowledge can be combined.
Among the cultural skills highlighted by the students in the 2 open-ended questions were empathy, conflict management, communication skills, and emotional intelligence. In the closed questions about the recommendation of the collaborative projects, 70% of the students could recommend the international experience at level 4 and 5. The exchange activity between students from different countries and cultures was interesting and enriching, as mentioned by student B from Peru. I find the fact of encouraging cultural knowledge as well as knowledge about our career quite interesting. Finally, we shared the conclusions.
Neuroscience and education are closely related in that both seek to understand how the brain learns and processes information. Building on neuroscience by having a deep understanding of the neural mechanisms underlying learning and memory can guide educational practice and the development of tools that produce successful outcomes, such as those described in these presentations.
In terms of plannings, there is coherence between each phase of the project's development, thanks to the methodologies applied, which guide participants through an efficient process of developing activities that, with formative evaluation, allow them to achieve the objectives set.
The selection of different oral, visual, and writing languages to demonstrate a participatory development and its outcome was successful because it recognized the knowledge background of the participants, made them feel comfortable with the delivery formats, and allowed them to communicate assertively within the established time limits.
According to the students, international collaborative learning is recommended because it allows them to develop their critical thinking and the communication skills, as well as collective responsibility and solidarity. In addition, they believe that the project allowed them to achieve the learning outcomes of the exercises and the subject.
The brain can adapt and change in response to new experience and is more attentive when exposed to diverse and enriched environments that create and store knowledge. Therefore, it is recommended to plan exercise that promote stimuli that use different sensory organs to connect the students' previous knowledge with the new content of the subject.
Finally, the synergy among the participants promotes the exchange of experiences and international creative networks. In addition, teachers share teaching and learning experiences that promote active, hands-on education.
Thank you. These are our contact details.
Thank you.